Hey guys, this is Vijay from Microtek. In this video, I'm going to show you how to enable Azure Disk Encryption via Azure portal. Hey guys, now I'm going to show you how to create or how to enable Azure Disk Encryption, for which we need to deploy a virtual machine first. So I'm just going to select virtual machine, and I'm in my virtual machine panel where I can click on add new virtual machine, and I'm gonna select the resource group called I'm gonna click on create new, and it's Azure Disk Encryption. I'm gonna create a new resource group called Azure Disk Encryption, and then name of my VM would be VM-Azure Disk Encryption ADE. I'm going to leave the region, availability zone and image as such. I'm going to use a Windows based operating system for this, and username is Azure admin, and let me give you a password for this. And then I'm just gonna leave this inbound port 3389 open so that I can RDP to it, and let me go and click next. So in this disk panel, you can see something called encryption type. This is something which we are not gonna do now. So this is different from what this disk encryption type is. Something is used to encrypt the managed disk. And we're not going to do it now. I'm going to cover this in a new video, in a separate video. And this encryption type is basically used to do the encryption using a platform managed key, or else you can use a customer managed key, which you will be actually you can either create the customer managed key via the portal, or you can actually get it from your on premises and then upload it to Key Vault, and then you can reference that. And Azure uses the custom managed key to encrypt the disk managed key, and in turn uses the disk managed key to encrypt the actual data. And there is an option called double encryption, where you can either use platform managed or custom managed key, and then there is something called infrastructure managed key. So the encryption will be happening in server level as well as in the service level as well as in the infrastructure level. So I'll be covering this in a separate video, but now we are more focused on doing encryption at the ADE level, right? Azure Disk Encryption. So let me click on next. Networking. So I'm just going to leave it default. I'll just create a new public IP. And next, management. Over here, I'll just try to enable it's the boot diagnosis is already enabled with managed storage account, so I'm just going to leave it as such. And yeah, click on review and create. So the portal validates all the input that we have given so far, and once the portal is validated, I'll just click on create. So I'm just going to pause this video. It's going to take like 5 to 10 minutes for the virtual machine to be deployed. Once the virtual machine is deployed, let's go into the disk of the virtual machine, and then let's see how we can encrypt the OS disk. Yeah, as you can see, the virtual machine is created. I'm just going to click on go to resource. So this is the virtual machine we just created. I'll click on disks, and when I click on disks, I used to see there is only one disk, which is OS disk. So I'm just going to click on this OS disk to show you the way how this OS disk is created. So you can see the disk is in attached shape, attached state, and then you can see the location in which it is deployed, and operating system, and so on and so forth. So I'm just gonna go back to the disk panel, and then I'm just gonna click on additional settings. And over here you can see something called Azure Disk Encryption for volume. So what Azure Disk Encryption does is, it actually, for Windows, you can actually upload the BitLocker key, or you can actually create a new key for yourself, and then you can use that key to encrypt the volumes, or basically the OS, right? When you do this, let's say if you're taking a VHD out of it, or let's say if you're taking a backup of this disk, and if I create a new VM out of this VHD, the entire VHD will be encrypted with the key that you're going to use. But it's different from what the other type of encryption that I have mentioned earlier. So that is basically to provide additional layer of security when the data is at rest. So the moment when we create a backup, or when we pull the VHD out of this VM, the VHD will be unencrypted. But using this Azure Disk Encryption, since the entire OS and data disk are encrypted, until unless you have a key, you will not be able to decrypt it and then create a new VM out of it. So it's always recommended to encrypt using ADE, and let's see how we can do it. So since I have only OS disk, I'm going to select OS disk here. And in order to do this, I basically need to have the key stored in a key vault. So I'm just going to click here to select the key vault. Since I don't have any key vault, I'm going to create a new one. So this is a creation of key vault flow. So I'm going to place this key vault in the same resource group. I'm going to give name as key vault Microtek. So the name of the key vault needs to be unique, and then let me select the region as North Europe, and then you can either use standard or premium. I'm just going to use standard, and if you need to use HSM backed keys, which is like hardware kind of keys, you can select premium, or else you're good with standard. And the soft delete is enabled by default, and the retention period is 90 days. So I'm just going to click on access policy now, and there's something called there is a checkbox called Azure Disk Encryption for volume encryption. So this is exactly what we are doing. So once you click this, we provide policy or access to the service principal of the virtual machines, who can use this key vault keys, right? So once you enable this, the service principal which is going to get created for the virtual machine will be able to kind of get this key from this key vault. And also it's recommended to kind of enable this. So let's say if you want to create a new VM from this virtual machine which is fully encrypted, when you enable this, basically you're giving permission for the compute resource. So when you create a new VM, the new VM will with its own identity can come and reach out to the key vault to get the keys. And if you're planning to do some sort of ARM-based deployment, ARM deployment, so basically you can enable this as well. So I'm going to enable all three for now, and I'm gonna click on next. So once you create the key vault, since I'm the admin, I will be added and given all the permissions, but it's not mandatory that you need to provide access to any users at this stage, because once this key vault is created and once the service principal is created for the virtual machine, it can actually and that's why you are kind of giving permission to all these things, so that it without any user intervention, or without you giving permission to any of this user, you can directly enable these three to kind of give access for the virtual machine to access a disk, encrypted disk. So basically the virtual machine is going to get the key from this key vault, and then it's going to decrypt the messages. So I'm going to leave it as public, and then review and create. So once this is created, I can reference this key vault to my ADE. So let me click on create, and the deployment is in process. As you can see, the key vault deployment is completed, and it's an empty key vault, so basically we need to create a new key. So I'm just going to click on create new. So if you already have a key and if you want to reference, the key will be showing up in the drop down. So yeah, I'm just going to give a name as VM hyphen ADE. That's my name of my VM. So that's, let me put it as hyphen key. So I'm going to use the key type as RSA. You can choose between 2048 till 4096 size key, and then you can actually go ahead and create it. So once this key is created, that key gets referenced automatically, and you need to create a version. So the current version is this. I'm just going to select that and select. So once that is done, I will go ahead and save it. So the validation is going through. Once the validation is passed, the disk encryption, Azure Disk Encryption will be enabled for this disk, and it will start actually encrypting the OS disk at rest. So I'll show you once this is done. So currently the creation is going through. So let me pause this video, and once the creation is done, we'll resume. As you can see, the operation is succeeded. It almost took like 7 minutes for me to complete, for this to get completed. So I'm in the same page. I'm just going to click on additional settings. You can see the disk encryption is already enabled, and I'm encrypting the OS disk, and you can see I'm using this key vault, and this is a key, and this is a version. So this is what I wanted to show, like how to use the Azure Disk Encryption to encrypt your OS disk. And inside in this OS disk, you can see there is a column called encryption, and you can see it is encrypted with SE with PMK and ADE. ADE is basically Azure Disk Encryption. Thank you for watching.